Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangaistushtuvaagumsastanubhi Vashema Devahitanyadayuh Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedah Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaskatir Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvisha vahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Mantra number 3. Jagritasthano bahishpragyaha saptangaha eko vimshati mukhaha sthula bhukvaishvanaraha prathamapadaha. So, just a couple of comments before we start on the main text. We had previously mentioned that this course on Mandukya Karika can be considered to be a PhD level Vedanta. What that means is that as far as the Shastra goes, as far as the teaching of the Vedanta goes, this composition by the Gaudapadacharya ji as well as the commentary by his Shishya Adi Shankara represents the highest level of understanding of Advaita Vedanta. And so as such it is pure Sampradaya, starting with Sadashiva, Dakshinamurti, then to Vyasa, then Shukadeva, then Gaudapadacharya, then Shankaracharya. This is how it goes. So PhD level means that it requires a fair amount of background, fair amount of study, basics, foundation, and not hard to imagine, because in any kind of a field, like in, you have languages, grammar, any of those kinds, it requires a step-by-step basics. Even in a simple language, you have to understand the alphabet, then the formation of words, formation of sentences, and then you start to use the sentences for articulation of representing some very, very subtle ideas and so on. So that's very normal. That's how this progression goes. So similarly here also, a fair amount of Shravanam, understanding what the Upanishads are saying, understanding what the Gita, Bhagavad Gita is saying, different kind of Gitas and so on. And then comes the Karika, which is extremely subtle. And another thing is that Karika represents what's called Sadhya Mukti, not Krama Mukti. Vedanta generally has different ways. So Krama Mukti means that you proceed slowly, and the main paths are sadhana sadhya. So sadhana sadhya means that you have to collect the means of undertaking a journey. Then you take the journey, and at the end of that, you reach some kind of an intermediate goal. And there you collect some more sadhana, and then you go on. This is exactly what Krama Mukti is, that through study and accumulation of good deeds, punya, and so on, you can aspire to go to a higher level of existence where there will be less problems, more enjoyment, more study, perhaps, and so on. And if you keep doing it, then perhaps you will reach Brahmaloka, where Brahmaji himself will ensure that you you become a very successful student and you reach Ishvara. So this is what is called Krama Mukti. Sadhya Mukti, on the other hand, is not based on sadhana sadhya, but it is made on siddha, a siddha purusha, already done. And so the only thing there is not it's a very strange journey. It's not like you have to keep doing some things to reach, but it just means that you are already siddha. You are not sadhya. Sadhya means to be established. Siddha means already established. And so if I'm already established and I don't feel that, then what is the issue? The issue, therefore, is lack of understanding. And so Karika represents Sadhya Mukti and means a understanding of the fact. It's a waking up to my real state of who I am. And so as such, it requires a lot of preparation, a lot of background, a lot of thinking, a lot of vichara, and we should be ready for that. And so, I remember Swami Dayanandji used to have made this very clear to us, because there was always a discussion, is Vedanta easy or is it Vedanta difficult? So he used to say, for a person who is not prepared, it is very difficult. And for a person who is prepared, it is very easy. So Vedanta by itself is not difficult or easy. It is already a done deal, praptasya praptihi. But the person who is aspiring needs to equip himself or herself with the right kind of mind, thinking, vichara. And if that happens, it's just like that. So in that sense, knowing that very few of us are really that prepared, what it means is we need to be patient in equipping ourselves with the kind of thinking that requires Sadhya Mukti. So it's, in the first two mantras itself, he says, I am Atma Brahman. What you are looking for as a complete person, you already are. You are what you're looking for. And this is unbelievable. It's so the question is whether it's believable or unbelievable, it's a fact. And how you look upon yourself changes everything. One can even do a kind of an interesting an analogy of this. So you're maybe this is the old something that we all fall back to, but a very truthful fact, that if you're teaching a wave of the ocean who is feeling small and vulnerable because it's changing and it's going to dissolve, and it feels threatened, it has a very short life, and all those kinds of things. And therefore it is miserable. And so then the guru wave tells this wave, student wave, that listen, this is not the case. You are in fact, you are not just a vulnerable wave, you are the entire ocean. And the wave doesn't understand it, but if the right kind of communication can take place, it is not believable or unbelievable, it's a fact. So you just look at it this way. Each wave is in fact the whole ocean, isn't it? Just look at it that way. Each wave. It's not like some waves are not the whole ocean, some waves are. Every wave, in fact, is the whole ocean. You know, and this is a meditation, this is a nididhyasanam that we should do. You know, if you want to do that in just now, we don't have to make an elaborate arrangement, just do this now. Just close your eyes. One feels that I am just this combination of this body and some thoughts within this body. This is common with some variations, but this is common to all of us. This is what we think. This is what we conclude. We should see that I am in fact an ocean of jnanam, of consciousness. That thought that I am just this body is but a small part of the conscious, the sea of consciousness, jnanam. I know, I am knowledge. I should see I'm always that. And the knowledge that I am just this body is supported by this sea of consciousness. It is contained within it. And yet, I am ignoring the entire sea of consciousness. Jnanam, 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 chit swarupam. I'm ignoring it. And I'm choosing only to identify with I am just this body. Why? Why don't I identify with the more stable, complete, timeless sea of consciousness? It is because of my ignorance, that's all. So this is exactly what happens. I'm like a wave of the ocean that is just focused on the form, not on the content. And this is exactly what I need to do. I need to ask myself, why don't I focus on the content? Why am I so hung up on just seeing myself as a small, limited being? Excuse me. So this unbelievable or believable and so on is all a viewpoint. Neither difficult nor easy. It's a fact, but I just don't see it. That's it. This is what Sadhya Mukti is. Anyway, so this course that we are undertaking of Mandukya Karika is going to really reveal the fundamental truth at the highest level possible. This is what is called the PhD level Vedanta. And so we will embellish that, we will confirm it, we will reinforce it from time to time. This is the vision, this is the drishti that we have to see. And the Karika does a very excellent job of really revealing this to us that we have to follow. So, so one of the things that we need to think about is that we have 2 classes a week on this topic, one on Saturdays and one on Tuesday night, and we have chosen to, I have chosen actually, to have both of the classes be on the Karika. So I've been looking at the statistics, and the Tuesday night class is visited by half the number of people that the Saturday night class is. I just looked at the stats. The Saturday night class, Saturday morning class from last week, exactly a week ago, has been visited by 130 people. And the Tuesday night class, which is obviously some of the people have not had a chance to look at it, is visited by about 60, 65 people. So it's exactly half of that. So this raises a question as to how should we proceed, because there is, in fact, there are some facts that we discuss on the Tuesday night class that you'll be missing if you didn't attend that. So that's something that we have to really look at. I don't think I want to go back to just once a week. I think I want to continue on with twice a week. Maybe what I can do is on the Saturday morning class, I'll do a very small summary of the last class, not to give you the full details of it, but if you're interested, you can go back and listen to that or watch the videos. I don't know what else to do. So this is how. And for those of you that are attending both, you'll get a full picture of how the vision progresses. All right, so in the last class, I'll just mention just a few things because, from standpoint of time. So what we had said was that the vision of Advaita Vedanta means that I am the entire cosmos, not just a small person in the cosmos. And we should understand how this happens. Why is it that I don't identify, I don't have the abhimana? The Sanskrit word for identification is abhimana. I don't have the abhimana with the entire Jagat, Vishwa. I only have it with one person in the Vishwa. And this we have already discussed the very structure of it. And this is where the dream state is extremely important to understand. And we have already mentioned that many times, that really this is the srishti of the swapnavastha is very deliberate by Ishvara. In fact, if this srishti of the swapnavastha was not there, you will never become totally free. Never. And the whole objective, as we will discuss later on of life, is to be totally free. And a very important ingredient of that is to do vichara on the swapnavastha. And the swapnavastha vichara means that if you look at how the swapnavastha is, there are three parts of it. We saw that. One was the swapna purusha, means the dreamer person. One was the entire dream, so that is the abhimana of the entire dream, Vishwa of the dream. And the third one is the Sakshi, that really looks at either the Purusha or the entire dream and concludes both of them. In other words, the very reason for both of them is the Sakshi. This is the three-part portion of the Swapna. So now we need to understand that, really speaking, the other part that the Shastra points out is that please start with the fundamentals. Be aware of exactly how this dream phenomena happens and draw from it to the conclusion that, really speaking, you are neither of them, and you are something which is only a Sakshi and not the identification with the Swapna or with the Swapna Purusha. This is the truth of it. Then we saw that, really speaking, having learnt that fundamental lessons about the constituency, the constituents of the swapna, apply it to the Jagrata Avastha, because the two are fundamentally the same. One requires more thought because it is more entrenched. The other one is fleeting, and therefore you keep changing it, and you can remove it very easily. But the two are very similar. So therefore, in the Jagrata Avastha also, we should say the same ingredients. There is a Jagrat Purusha, which is you and I. Then there is a Jagrat Abhimana. And that Jagrat Abhimana is missing right now. You are not cognizant of it. You don't believe in it. You are only clinging to the Jagrat Purusha, but not to the Jagrat Avastha. And then you are the Sakshi. And the Sakshi is the same for all the Avasthas. That's what we said. This is the Chit Swarupam, which is the entire ocean. It remains the same. But the Jagrat Avastha and the Jagrat Purusha keeps changing. So there, now we saw in the last class, in the Tuesday night class, that really the first pada, the first step you have to do is to learn to become an abhimana of the Jagrata Avastha. This is what needs to happen. And if you do that, then, and the whole course actually, this will be based, we're just starting out. This is, as the entire Agama Prakarana means, it's a pratigya matram. It's only a promise of things to come. And so say, this is the objective, this is what we're going to do. And this will be sketched out. It will be reinforced with examples because I find it very hard. And so this hardness of thinking would be tackled by having lots of support by the Shastra. It doesn't leave you alone. This is what the whole course is going to be. So anyway, and the other thing we had mentioned in the Tuesday evening class is that one of the things we should see as a derivative of this issue is that when we hurt, because I am the whole thing, just like in the case of your own body, if one part of the body hurts the other part of the body, both suffer. You suffer. So similarly here also, because I'm the entire Vishwa, and I hurt someone else thinking this is somebody else, not me, I'm really hurting myself. And the result of that will come back to me in due time. So we saw that phenomena. This is a big business. Sometimes you don't know what your losses and winnings are until later, but they are there for sure. So we saw all of that. Okay. So let's now proceed on new material, having covered some of the other class. So now, some important new things that we will sketch out as part of this PhD level Vedanta. So I'll spend a little bit of time of that. But for now, I want to give you some basics of the Abhimana, the different kind of Abhimanas that I have. So for that, if you can write on a piece of paper, something like a spreadsheet that you can do, something like this, what I've drawn. And so if you do on the vertical scale, horizontal scale and vertical, horizontal line this way and vertical this way. On the vertical side, put down the three states of experience, which is Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha, and Sushupti Avastha. Waking state, dream state, and sleep state. To do that. And then on this side, you do microcosm and macrocosm, Vyashti and Samashti. So this is the spreadsheet. This is the matrix. And now we'll have 6 things that constitutes them. So here, in the Jagrat Avastha, the Vyashti Abhimana, this is a matrix of Abhimana, different kind of Abhimana, a different kind of identification. So the name of the Abhimani, the one that does the Abhimana of the Jagrat Avastha in the Vyashti form, that is the Abhimana. So the Abhimani for that is called Vishwa. That's what Shastra has suggested, and we'll keep that name. You can make any name yourself, but let's just follow the convention and adopt the same Abhimani name as Shastra provides. This is called Vishwa. And there is a reason why all these names are given. There is an etymological reason for it. So it's not arbitrary. So don't change it, keep it. So this is called Vishwa. Then the name of the Abhimani for the Swapna Avastha is called Taijasa. Taijasa. And the one for Sushupti is called Pragya. Pragya. So Vishwa, Taijasa, and Pragya. Now let's go over to the Samashti, which is the macrocosm. So here, on the Jagrat Avastha, there are 2 names that are synonyms. One is called Virat and one is called Vaishwanara. And so in the Mandukya Upanishad, the word Vaishwanara is used. So this is Vaishwanara. Excuse me. In the Swapna Avastha, the Samashti is called Hiranyagarbha. Got it? And then in the Sushupti Avastha, in the Samashti, it is called Ishvara. It's a very interesting thing. How is that? I thought Ishvara for the whole thing. How come you're just doing it here? We will look into that. That's all described in the Karika later on. But this is the basic stuff about the matrix of the Abhimanas. Okay, I just wanted to mention that. Now one other thing about the Abhimana means the very name identification means it is not real. It is not permanent. It is not fixed. It is a temporary state of your mind which which is not going to be there forever. This is very obvious to us in our own lives from a Vyashti standpoint. So just look at this. So the Abhimani for the Jagrata Avastha is Vishwa. Okay, so this you can say this is the Purusha, the person, that's you and I. We have a certain identity, certain thoughts. This is who I am. That is the Vishwa. Now that is that fixed and permanent? Just think about it. We might think, yeah, it's true, but it is not. Not only is it not true before my birth and after my death, which obviously it is not, but even within the life it is not true. How so? Because in the dream state I don't exist. There is a different person. This is worth thinking. You see, now suppose you maintain your identity as a Vishwa, even in the dream state, and you have some more things on top of that. That would be understandable, but that's not how it is. You are completely negated. And a new person comes up during the dream state, which is Taijasa. New person. And even that person gets erased in the deep sleep state in Pragya. So it's very obvious that really these are temporary identifications, not permanent identifications. That cannot be my reality. And my reality is completely different. But I am, for the time being, for whatever reason, identified with one person in Jagrat, another person in Sushupti, another person in Swapna. This is what happens. So the basic thing is that the Abhimana, as the word suggests, identification. One of the very modern ways of looking at this is, not modern, but the current waves, is that when you go see a movie, you identify with one or the other characters. And the movies generally, so you identify with the hero and heroine, the good people. That's who you identify with. You never identify with a villain, but you identify. So for the time being, and this is why some people can get emotional, they can have tears in their eyes, if the storyline of the movie is that I am in trouble, bad things have happened to me, and I've lost this and so on. So then you, because of your identification, you also have tears in your eyes. You also have an emotional reaction to that. But then the movie ends, and then you have to get up, and then you and your partner, your spouse or friend decide, okay, let's go have dinner together. And just a small memories there. Oh, that was a good movie. That was very moving. Rather sad, I must say. You can discuss this, but now you're having dessert and whatever you're eating, you forget about it. It's very temporary. This is exactly what our situation is. We think that my personality, my life is permanent. It is not. It is just due to identification. Anyway, so these are the 6 types of identification. that are possible, okay, in anyone's life. Avastha, Traya, and Vyashti and Samashti. Okay, all right. With that, let's go forward with another important fact. This is really very key to the whole Mandukya Karika, key to what we call PhD level Vedanta. This is really a very central part that I will now mention, and then we will have to stick to it, to embellish it, to reinforce it later. But this is a fact. Fact is that these 6 abhimanas that we talked about occurs to one person. So these are different views of one person. They're not 6 people. There may be 6 views, 6 ways of identification, but they all belong to one person. And that is the student of this study. One person. One person plays all these 6 roles, not 6 people. This is the key thing to know. This is number 1. The second part of this is that one person views himself or herself and in such a way that it creates these 6 different views. And by that it is meant, it's not as though, see, this is an important thing to see. This is a very fundamental part of this advanced Vedanta. It is not as though there are 6 roles and you adopt any one of them. That's not how it is. Another way of looking at this is, there are 2 words used in Sanskrit. One is called drishti and one is called srishti. So srishti and drishti. So drishti means a viewpoint. And srishti means a creation, a viewpoint and a creation. So now the question is, which came first? Did you have a srishti which was already there, and based on the srishti, you develop a viewpoint called drishti? Is it that way? Or you imagine something and then later on it became a srishti. Which of these is true? Now, in the intermediate stage of Vedanta, for the purpose of explaining to people who are not yet ready for the final PhD level, sometimes it is said that the Srishti was done first, the creation was done first. Ishvara's Srishti is already there, and you have to fit yourself in, you have to adopt yourself as to what your drishti is, which of them you want to be. In the PhD level Vedanta, which the Karika represents, that's not how we look at it. In fact, it is drishti and srishti. Drishti comes first, srishti comes later. In fact, even that is not completely true. Whatever your drishti is, that becomes the srishti. That's much more important. So forget about earlier or later. Whatever the individual's drishti is, that becomes the srishti. I tell you, this is the fundamental thing that we should hang on to. I'm defining this at very early on in the stage, and the entire Karika consists of explaining this in various forms. And whether it is believable or unbelievable, it's up to you. Whether you want to look at it and reject it or understand it, or the best thing is to keep it if you don't completely agree with it or look at it that way, keep it there as Shraddha. But this is what the facts are. This is an enormous fact that is going to be the very fundamental underpinnings of the entire teaching. It has so many implications, it's unbelievable. In terms of my beginning, of my existence, my end, my state of being, the process, everything aspect of that. This fundamental thing has to be understood. Okay? So this is what is called Drishti Shrishti Vada. Vada means a way of adopting, a way of some vision of the vision, you can say vision. Vada can also means what is being said, but I think the understanding would be a vision. So this is the vision that we are going to hang on to. And so Drishti Srishti is the important thing for us to see. Okay? So now, having said that, let us go back to the text and see how this Drishti Srishti comes about in the Jagrat Avastha. Okay? So here, we should see that if my abhimana in the Jagrat Avastha is with just my Vyashti Sharira. So there what we have is everything from the standpoint of the small person, limited person, not small, but limited person. And we have talked about the ingredients in the what my vision is that I'm made up of some elements, and there are two ways of looking at the elements. One is the same elements that are become grossified, solidified, and some aspect of the elements that are fluid. So this is what is called Panchikrita Mahabhuta and Apanchikrita Mahabhuta. And again, I think you have to go back to this is also based on the very fundamental part of Tattva Bodha. So the Panchamahabhutas are known to us, which is Akasha, Vayu, Tejaha, Apaha, and Prithvi. Space, air, fire, water, and earth. These are the Panchamahabhuta. So for the Sthula Srishti, these Panchamahabhutas are Panchikrita. We have hopefully you have seen what the Panchikritam is, that half of one element is combined with portions of the other elements, and that becomes the Sthula Sharira of that Sthula Prapancha. Like for example, fire, suppose let's just take any fire. So fire has predominantly fire, but also portions of Akasha, Vayu, Jalam, and also Prithvi. And so also for the other ones. This is what is called Panchikrita Mahabhuta. Then you have the Apanchikrita Mahabhutas, which is non-grossified form. And so this is where Manaha, the thoughts are also made out of Panchamahabhutas alone. They also have air, fire, etc., etc. But that's how the Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva comes about. But they are in a non-grossified form, in a very fluid form. So in summary, my Srishti as a Jagrata Avastha Vyashti person is based off of the Pancha Mahabhutas. Right? Pancha Mahabhutas. This we are familiar with. Either Panchikrita or Apanchikrita. Now comes the ingredients of the Samashti Abhimana of the Jagrata Avastha. What is the Samashti Abhimana of the Jagrata Avastha? You can go back to your matrix, right? This one was Vishwa. This is what we were just talking about. But supposing you go to the Samashti Abhimana, this is Vaishvana. So Vaishvanara is a broader view. Virat or the Vaishvanara is a broader view of the entire creation, not just your own body. So the entire creation, what is it all made out of? It's made out of the same Panchamahabhutas. Right? So, for example, Prithvi. So, Prithvi means that all of the solid things. So, your body also was an aspect of Prithvi. You and I also took some portions of that from the Prithvi and then made it into a small one. But it's really Prithvi. It goes back to it came out of the Prithvi and it will go back to the Prithvi. So it is also Prithvi. The same thing is there. There is fire everywhere. There's some fire inside of you and I. There's air everywhere and also air inside you and I, which becomes prana. There's space everywhere and also we take up some space. So everything is really the same. And you're just taking small portions of it like a wave of the ocean. The ingredient of the wave is also the same water. So there is no fundamental difference between them. But operationally, two things are added to make it into a Vishwa, into the entire, not Vishwa, but the entire creation during the Jagrat Avastha. Those are called Surya and Dyuloka. Surya and Dyuloka. So now 5 Panchamahabhutas and Surya and Dyuloka, and I'll explain what those are in a minute. I'm just giving you the count. These become the 7 basic ingredients of the entire creation during the Jagrat Avastha. So this is what is called Saptanga. Saptangaha of this verse number 3. So if we read this mantra number 3 again. So here it is talking about Jagrat Avastha. Sushupti Avastha, Swapna Avastha will come later. But in the mantra 3, Jagrita Sthanaha Bahishpragyaha So Bahishpragyaha means what? We already saw that in the last few classes. It means a manifestation of jnanam outside, the outside manifestation. In fact, you can say that this is the Pancha Mahabhutas, which are partially Panchikrita, partially not, but they provide an outside view of yourself. So this is how you say, I'm sitting in this room and there is a light on, outside view. This is called Bahishpragya. Same pragya, same jnanam, but which is applied, kind of like in same electricity, but it gets into a particular appliance. It becomes Bahishpragya. And then there will be an Antav Pragya, which will come in the next mantra. That we will see later. But right now in the Jagrita Sthanaha, Bahishpragya, next word is Saptangaha. Saptangaha means the one that has 7 limbs. Okay, so this is what constitutes the Prathama Padaha. Prathama Padaha means the first step, which means now look at the Jagrata Sthana from a Samashti view. And in the Samashti view, there are Saptangaha. In the Vyashti view, you can say it can be Panchangaha, only 5. But in the Samashti view, it is Saptanga, means 7 limbs. What are the 7 limbs? We already saw that. Water, same 5 of the other ones, water, fire, wind, space, etc. Plus 2 more, Surya and Dyuloka. Okay, so now one can say why is it Surya? Surya means the sun. Why is the sun distinguished from the fire? Isn't the sun consist of the fire? So here Shastra says, yes, it is true that the Surya really essentially is fire, but we emphasize it because if you look at the whole thing as a body, as a functioning body, not just a human being, but the entire creation, that entire creation is also a functioning body. And that body has the same kind of limbs as you and I have. And that body consists of 7 applications, 7 limbs. And one of them is Surya, and the other one is Dyuloka. Dyuloka means the heavens. So Surya and Dyuloka are added. Now let us look at the form of this body of the entire creation. So in this creation, you can either look at it from a small standpoint, functioning body that I'm very familiar with, because I have a head, I have a middle portion, I have different things, and so on and so forth. Similarly, there is a body which is functioning, which is alive, of the entire creation. In that creation, let us look at what are the bodies. Okay, so there we have the earth, which is considered to be the feet of the entire creation. Then you have the water, and the water is the organ of peeing, organ of urinating. The water of the whole creation is like you are urinating. This is the vision of the whole creation. All bodies, all organs will come sooner or later. Fire is considered to be the mouth of this body. And it is distinguished from sun in a way. The fire, let's look at the fire of the whole body is the same thing that is done with the fire of, it is considered to be the mouth of the body. So the mouth of the body, individual body, does 2 things. One is it takes food in, because the mouth is a very important thing, because this is the one that requires nutrition. And nutrition is the one that keeps the whole body going. And it is all consumed through the mouth. And the second aspect of the mouth is, so one is that it creates the fire in my body, the mouth. The second one is that it talks. The mouth is constructed in such a way that it can articulate words like I'm talking at the moment. Okay, so now we have earth, water, then the wind, the air represents the prana, the life-giving portion of the whole body. The space is the stem of the body, of the main part of the body that holds everything together, provides the space for it. Surya are the eyes of the entire creation. Why is the Surya an eyes of the creation? Because fire was the mouth of the creation. We already discussed that. Surya is considered to be the eyes because without light you cannot see. So there is a distinction made between the heating aspect of Surya and the light aspect of Surya. The heating aspect of Surya is fire. The light aspect of the Surya is the aid for seeing, because the whole creation could not really survive without light. It cannot survive without heat. It cannot survive without feet. All these aspects of it. So the Vaishvanaraha is presented here as Saptangaha, as a functioning body. Swami Akhandananda was saying that he was in this autobiography that he had written. I think some of you are ordering that, and I've been recommending to read that. He has talked about visiting many Mahatmas and how he learned different things from it. So one Mahatma told him, so they all gave different ideas and how to look at things and so on. He says, look at it. You look at yourself as in manifestations of these five elements. So he says, supposing you're sitting quietly, not moving or anything, that is considered to be Akasha. Look at it, you are now like Akasha, space, not moving, quiet. Then suppose you start moving. So for moving, it is like Vayu, it's like air. Then if you move quickly, you create warmth, just like fire. And if you create warmth moving, you create sweat, which is the water. And then when the sweat becomes solidified, it becomes like crust on your skin. It is like Prithvi. So the Mahatma told him that this is how I visualize all the five elements existing at different parts of different phases of my body. So similarly here, it is said that in order to take the first step, Pratamapada, that's what it says, Pratamapada, to take the first step, you have to visualize the entirety of this body which is in play. And then this will come this will come later on, this entirety is actually created by your own mind. So it is not true that it was already there and you are born into it. See, this is going to be an unbelievable fact. So it's not Srishti Drishtivada, it's Drishti Srishtivada. So we'll have to work on it and prove it, why that is the case. How is it that I could not have done it? How I cannot, I'm just a small person. No, we're not looking at it from the standpoint of a small person that can't even do things very well. We're looking at the Paramatma. The Paramatma is the one who is capable of projecting amazing things, like in a dream. Can you imagine? That same logic should apply. This is a very interesting thing. We're going to keep doing this kind of logical vichara. Can you imagine that all the things that you can dream of, are you capable of doing it? The sun in the dream, the heat of the dream, the ocean in the dream. Are you capable of, you and I, can we do it? No, we can't. We project it. One argument that will come later on is, but wait a second. The dream creation is because of memories. So here the memories are called vasanas, or you can call it samskaras, either one. Vasanas has a slightly negative connotation and samskara has a positive connotation, but they represent the same idea. So one can argue that, you see, the dream, I don't create dream, and if I do create a dream, I borrow the ideas from the waking state, and the vasanas from the waking state create the dream. So I didn't create it. The Atma didn't create it. It's the mind that creates it. So that is not true that the Jagrata Avastha can be my creation, because I don't have the vasanas of anything, whereas the Swapna Avastha is the vasana of the Jagrata Avastha. You see what I'm saying? Let me clarify this. This point also will be taken up later on. That you are telling me that I'm capable of creating this whole thing. The sun and the moon and the galaxies, and how can I create it? This is not acceptable. So it must have already been there and I didn't create it. To which the Shastra says, my dear, how did you create the dream? Did you not create, just very interestingly, Swami Akhandananda points out, so at various points in his book, he gives what is called paribhasha. So paribhasha means a definition. An airtight definition of something is called paribhasha. So he gives a paribhasha of the word swapna. What do you mean by a dream? This is a very beautiful paribhasha. We should understand this. I'm running out of time, so I have to wind this up. I'll do that soon. But paribhasha of a swapna means the one that makes you feel this is real. A concept that appears as reality is called dream. This is a beautiful example, paribhasha. Beautiful definition of dream. Dream means the one that appears as reality. It may not be reality, but it appears as reality. Anyway, that's the paribhasha of the dream. Going back to what I was saying earlier, that in this discussion, if somebody says, you created the whole thing, and you can say, no, I didn't. I could not have created the whole thing. And then the other person says, you created the dream. If you can create of a reality of a dream, you can also create the reality of this. So there the rejoinder is, no, they're different. Because in a dream, it is the leftover of a Jagrata Avastha. It is the vasana of the Jagrata Avastha. It's a memory. This is not a memory. Now will come the teaching later on. But I'll mention it here. The Jagrata Avastha that you and I dream of is also the leftover of the previous lives. Yep. So even this is a vasana only. It is not. So therefore, this also is drishti srishti alone, not srishti drishti. This argument is going to be adopted, and we will continue with that in the next class based on this. So that's how the saptangaha of the third mantra is given, and then we will proceed next to the next one, which is Ekona Vimshati Mukhaha, the 19-part mouth of this Jagrata Avastha, and that appreciation constitutes Prathama Pada, first step of moving. So with that, let us wind up this class, and we'll see. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. And Shri, thanks for reminding me. I neglected to do that. So Dyuloka represents the head. So this is where the thoughts, the wisdom is. So in that sense, one can say that the uh, the teaching, which is the voice of God, voice of Ishvara, is considered to be away from us, heavens. It just came from someplace. So in that sense, it is the heavens, but it means uh, the one that keeps us focused, keeps us correctly. So the head is the important part of the whole body. We, in our own body, we can see it, that unless my head is functioning, my thoughts are functioning, my brain is functioning, I'll get into a problem. And so the whole thing is directed and so on by the head. So the Dyuloka represents the head. Thanks for pointing that out. I forgot to mention that. Keshav, yes, that is true. Exactly right. That's how it is done as well. The sun and the moon, is it's considered from that standpoint also uh, the Purusha and Prakriti. So there is a couple of ways to look at it as well. So the Purusha is the one which is the content, the thoughts, and the Prakriti is the emotion. Um, and so those two are also represented by the sun and the moon. But it's a separate discussion. We can do that some other time. All right, very good to have you all, and we'll see you next time.